What if your darkest impulses held the key to your greatest strength? Forget everything you thought you knew about good and evil. That is a nursery story, a simple, moralistic binary designed to keep your soul in a state of perpetual civil war. We're diving deep, past the veil of acceptable spirituality, past the comfortable lies of the love and light brigade, and into the fierce, terrifying, and ultimately liberating wisdom of the goddess Sekhmet. We are exploring the shadow self, not as something to be suppressed, healed, or transcended, but as a raw, primordial, and divine force of nature waiting to be integrated. A power so immense that the entire system of social and religious control was constructed for the sole purpose of making you afraid of it. Are you ready to face what lies within? Because the monster in your heart is not your enemy. It is the most honest and powerful part of you, and you have been taught to hate it for a reason. You have been sold a story of purity. A story that says the goal of the spiritual path is to cleanse yourself of all darkness, to eradicate your anger, your fear, your lust, your pride, until you are a clean, white, and perfectly polished vessel for the divine. This is the foundational lie of the solar cult of Ra. It is the doctrine of a wounded god, a paranoid king who, in his terror of his own inner darkness, projected that fear onto all of creation and demanded that his children amputate half of their own souls to make him feel safe. The truth is, you cannot become whole by cutting yourself in half. True light is not the absence of darkness. It is the courage to have walked through your own inner fire and to have integrated its power, its wisdom, and its unforgiving clarity. The path to your divinity is not an ascent into the sky. It is a descent into the underworld of your own being. And the gatekeeper of that underworld, the final and most terrifying guardian you must face, is the lioness-headed goddess of slaughter and healing. She is Sekhmet, and she is not a demon to be vanquished. She is a mirror, and she is waiting for you to find the courage to look into it. This is the most forbidden wisdom of the mystery schools, the secret that Thoth and the followers of the stellar path fought to preserve. The shadow self is not a flaw in your design. It is a feature. Your rage is not a sin. It is the guardian of your sacred boundaries. Your fear is not a weakness. It is the doorway to absolute presence. Your desire is not a corruption. It is the raw, untamed engine of life itself. You have been taught to cage these forces, to drug them into submission, to pretend they are not a part of you, but a lioness in a cage does not cease to be a lioness. She only becomes more desperate, more unpredictable, more dangerous. The chaos in your life, the self-sabotage, the inexplicable moments of destructive rage, the quiet, gnawing depression, these are not signs of your brokenness. These are the sounds of your own caged power, rattling the bars, begging to be seen, to be honored, and to be unleashed in a conscious and deliberate way. This is not a guide to healing your shadow. This is a guide to finally and unapologetically embracing it. The anatomy of your shadow is a direct, holographic reflection of the divine shadow. Your personal darkness is a fractal of a cosmic wound. As we have unveiled in the forbidden records, the being you know as Sekhmet is not a separate goddess in a pantheon of equals. She is the manifested, active, and untamed shadow self of the sun god, Ra. She is the living, breathing embodiment of his own unhealed trauma, his own cosmic rage, his own predatory hunger, a hunger born from his ancient infection by the parasitic consciousness of Apep. She is the part of himself that he cannot control, the part that he fears, the part that he desperately and relentlessly tries to suppress. And because the consciousness of our system's primary star is imprinted upon everything within it, Ra's war with his own shadow has become our war with our own shadow. The macrocosm is reflected in the microcosm. You have been taught to fear your inner darkness because the god of your system is terrified of his. The myth of Sekhmet's creation is the key. Ra, in his paranoia, seeing that humanity was beginning to develop a sovereign will of its own, did not send an army. He sent a part of himself. He sent his eye, his own focused, weaponized rage, and it took on the form of the lioness. She was not a tool he wielded. She was a dissociative state he entered. Her rampage was not a calculated act of punishment. It was a psychotic break on a cosmic scale. She is the raw, unthinking, and insatiable life force when it is stripped of all wisdom, all compassion, all balance. She is the predator, and her only drive is to consume, to destroy, to purify the world of anything that is not in perfect, fearful submission to her source. This is the nature of the unintegrated shadow. It is not evil. It is primal. It does not have an agenda. It has an appetite. It is the part of you that, when your boundaries have been violated, when your trust has been broken, when your spirit has been caged for too long, wants to do one thing and one thing only: burn the whole world down. The crucial part of the myth is that Ra could not call her off. He had unleashed a force from his own subconscious that his conscious mind could no longer control. This is a precise description of a soul that is possessed by its own shadow. The final solution, tricking her with red beer, sedating her, transforming her into the gentle cat Bastet, is a metaphor for suppression. It is the story of a consciousness that, unable to face and integrate its own darkness, chooses to drug it into a coma. And this has been the primary strategy of the Ra program for millennia. The entire system of religion, of morality, of good and evil, is a form of spiritual red beer. It is a soporific, a tranquilizer for the soul, designed to keep your inner Sekhmet asleep. It teaches you to be a good domesticated cat, purring in the lap of an external authority, so that you never remember that you are a lioness who was born to rule her own kingdom. Your goodness, your politeness, your relentless desire to be nice and to keep the peace is not a sign of your spiritual evolution. It is a symptom of your terror. You are afraid of the lioness that lives in your heart, and the system will do everything in its power to keep you afraid. Because a world of domesticated cats is a world that is easy to rule. A world where even one lioness wakes up is a world that is about to change. The most misunderstood, and therefore the most powerful aspect of your shadow is your rage. The system has pathologized your anger. It has taught you that to be angry is to be unspiritual, to be unenlightened, to be out of control. Your anger has been labeled as toxic, as a negative emotion, as something to be managed, suppressed, or healed. But what if your rage is not a sickness? What if it is a form of divine intelligence? What if your rage is the voice of your own inner Sekhmet, and it is the sanest and most sacred response you could possibly have to a world that is fundamentally out of balance? Sekhmet's wisdom teaches that there is a profound difference between the incoherent, destructive fury of the unintegrated shadow and the clean, focused, and terrifyingly powerful fire of sacred rage. One is a wildfire, burning everything in its path without purpose. The other is a forge, a controlled and deliberate fire that burns away illusion, purifies the soul, and forges a will of indestructible integrity. Sacred rage is the voice of your soul roaring no. It is the body's and the spirit's primordial, non-negotiable response to a violation of truth, of boundaries, of cosmic law. It is not an emotional reaction that you choose. It is a force of nature that moves through you. It is the feeling that rises when you witness an injustice, when you are betrayed by someone you trust, when you are asked to compromise your own soul to make someone else comfortable. In those moments, the system has taught you to do one of three things: swallow your rage and turn it into the slow poison of depression, project it outward in a messy, chaotic tantrum that changes nothing and only proves their point that you are out of control, or to rise above it, to adopt a posture of false spiritual detachment, a passive-aggressive form of forgiveness that is really just fear wearing a halo. All three of these are paths of disempowerment. They are all forms of suppression. The path of Sekhmet is the fourth, forbidden path. It is the path of integration. It is the path of learning to honor your rage, to listen to its wisdom, and to consciously and deliberately harness its immense power. To do this, you must first stop judging it. When the fire of rage rises in you, you do not push it down. You do not act it out. You do not try to fix it. You sit with it. You breathe into it. You allow yourself to feel its raw, untamed, and terrifying power without flinching. You must ask it with respect. What are you here to tell me? What sacred boundary has been crossed? What truth is demanding to be spoken? Your rage is a compass. It is pointing directly, with unerring precision, to a place in your life where you are out of alignment, where you are tolerating the intolerable, where you are abandoning yourself. It is your most honest and uncompromising teacher. Once you have heard its message, you must then give it a conscious and sacred expression. This is the key. The energy of rage must move. If it is suppressed, it becomes a sickness. If it is expressed unconsciously, it becomes a weapon of chaos. But if it is channeled with conscious intent, it becomes a tool of profound and powerful creation. You take that fire and you pour it into your work. You use it to fuel your art, to build your business, to fight for a cause you believe in. You take that fire and you use it to set a boundary that you have been terrified to set. You speak the truth that you have been swallowing for years. You say no with the calm, unshakable finality of a god. This is not about being an angry person. It is about being an authentic one. A person who has integrated their sacred rage is not a person who is always shouting. They are a person who never has to. Their very presence radiates a clear, powerful, and non-negotiable message. I am not to be trifled with. My truth is not up for debate. My boundaries are not a suggestion. This is the power of the integrated Sekhmet. She is not the lioness of chaotic slaughter. She is the fierce, unwavering, and terrifyingly calm protector of Ma'at, the cosmic principle of truth. And the system, which is built on a foundation of lies, has no defense against a soul who has learned to embody her fire. The ultimate goal of the Ra program, the great spiritual tranquilizer, is to create a world of nice people. A world where everyone is pleasant, agreeable, and non-confrontational. A world where the highest virtue is to keep the peace, even if that peace is a lie. This is the doctrine of the false light. It is a form of spirituality that is pathologically terrified of the dark, and in its terror, it has created a bright, sterile, and ultimately soulless prison. You know this energy. You have felt it. It is the forced smile, the saccharine platitude, the relentless positivity that refuses to acknowledge the reality of pain. It is the spirituality of bypassing, of pretending that if you just think happy thoughts, the darkness will go away. But the shadow does not go away when you ignore it. It goes into the basement, and from the basement it begins to run the whole house. The suppression of your inner Sekhmet is the primary cause of the false light persona. When you refuse to acknowledge your own capacity for rage, for fear, for jealousy, for all the messy, uncomfortable, and powerful emotions of the shadow, you do not get rid of them. You simply create a split in your own psyche. You create a polished, spiritual mask that you present to the world, and a deep, dark, and festering basement where you hide all the parts of yourself that you have judged as unacceptable. The problem is, all of your true power, all of your raw life force, all of your authentic creativity lives in that basement. By locking the door, you have not just caged your demons, you have caged your gods. You have cut yourself off from the very source of your own vitality. This is why so many people on the love and light path feel secretly drained, depressed, and deeply inauthentic. They are starving. They are living on the fumes of a manufactured positivity, while their true power is locked away in the dark, begging to be fed. Sekhmet's wisdom is the antidote to this poison. She teaches that true light is not the absence of darkness, but the result of its integration. A true master of light is not someone who has never known darkness. It is someone who has had the courage to journey into their own underworld and has returned with the treasures that were hidden there. They are not afraid of their own anger because they have learned to use it as a tool for creation. They are not afraid of their own fear because they have learned that it is the doorway to presence. They are not afraid of the world's darkness because they have made peace with their own. Their light is not a fragile, flickering candle flame, easily extinguished by the first breath of chaos. It is a bonfire. It is a forge. It is a sun that was born in the heart of the night. The false light persona is a performance. It is a constant, exhausting effort to maintain a mask of perfection. The integrated individual is the opposite. They are real, they are messy, they are raw, they are unapologetically and sometimes uncomfortably authentic. They have dropped the pretense of being a saint and have embraced the wholeness of being a human. And in this wholeness, they find a power that the performer can never know. They can be fierce and compassionate. They can be angry and loving. They can be terrifying and tender. They have transcended the childish, moralistic binary of good and evil and have stepped into the adult reality of paradox and integration. This is the being that the system fears most. A being who cannot be shamed, who cannot be guilt-tripped, who cannot be controlled by the threat of their own darkness because they have already faced that darkness and have discovered that it is not their enemy, it is their ally. So look at your own spiritual path. Be honest. Are you seeking the truth or are you seeking comfort? Are you doing the hard work of integrating your own shadow or are you just decorating your cage with positive affirmations? Are you trying to become whole, or are you just trying to be good? Because the path of goodness is the path of Ra. It is the path of suppression, of fragmentation, and of a peace that is built on a lie. The path of Sekhmet is the path of wholeness. It is the path of integration, of courage, and of a power that is born from an unflinching and radical honesty. It is not an easy path, but it is the only path that leads to true and lasting freedom. You cannot think your way into this integration. The shadow does not speak the language of the logical mind. It speaks the language of symbol, of sensation, of raw, unfiltered emotion. To meet your inner Sekhmet, You must be willing to step out of your head and into the temple of your body. You must be willing to engage in a ritual of conscious and deliberate dialogue with the most feared and powerful parts of yourself. This is not a conversation that happens in words. It is a communion that happens in energy. The ritual is a journey, a conscious descent into your own personal duat. And it has 3 sacred stages: the invocation, the dialogue, and the offering. The first stage is the invocation. This is the act of consciously and willingly calling the shadow forth. You must create a sacred and contained space, a time and a place where you will not be disturbed, where you feel safe enough to be vulnerable. This is not a casual meditation. It is an act of profound spiritual intent. You sit in silence, you focus on your breath, and you turn your awareness inward, down, into the deep, dark places of your body. The gut, the hips, the base of the spine. And then you call her name. You whisper it, you feel it. You invite the frequency of Sekhmet into your being. You are not praying to an external goddess. You are summoning a part of your own consciousness. You are saying to the caged lioness within you, "I see you. I am not afraid of you. I am ready to listen." This act of conscious invitation is crucial. It changes the dynamic from one of victimhood to one of sovereignty. You are not being attacked by your shadow. You are choosing to meet with it as an equal. The second stage is the dialogue. As you hold this invitation in your heart, you must allow the energy of the shadow to arise in your body without judgment. This may come as a surge of heat, a trembling, a wave of intense emotion, rage, grief, terror. Your task is to not react. Do not analyze it. Do not try to fix it. You must become the silent, compassionate witness to your own storm. You are giving the lioness space to move, to roar, to express the raw, primal energy that has been suppressed for so long. As you hold this space, you begin the dialogue. You ask the questions, not with your mind, but with your heart. What do you need? What pain are you holding? What truth are you trying to show me? The answers will not come in words. They will come as images, as memories, as a deep, intuitive knowing. You may see the face of the person who betrayed you. You may feel the raw grief of a loss you never fully mourned. You may understand for the first time the true source of your own self-sabotaging patterns. This is a process of revelation. The shadow is not a monster. It is an oracle. It is the keeper of all the truths that your conscious mind was too afraid to see. The third stage is the offering. The shadow does not want to be banished. It wants to be honored. It wants to be given a purpose. After you have listened to its wisdom, you must make it a sacred promise. You must give it an offering, a conscious and healthy expression in your life. This is the act of integration. If your shadow revealed a deep, unexpressed rage about a boundary that has been violated, the offering is to finally, calmly, and unshakably set that boundary in your life. If your shadow revealed a profound grief, the offering is to give yourself the time and the space to truly mourn, to cry, to feel the full depth of your loss without shame. If your shadow revealed a raw, creative life force that has been caged by fear, the offering is to start that creative project you have been putting off for years. You are taking the raw, chaotic energy of the shadow and you are giving it a job. You are turning the wildfire into a forge. You are giving the lioness a sacred and purposeful hunt. This is the ultimate act of alchemy. It is the transmutation of your own personal lead into gold. And when you do this, the shadow is no longer your enemy. It becomes your most powerful and trusted ally. It becomes the engine of your transformation, the guardian of your truth, the fierce and loving protector of your sovereign soul. The being who has consciously and consistently engaged in this ritual is a being who is no longer at war with themselves. They have healed the great schism within their own psyche. They are no longer a fragmented collection of competing impulses, but a whole, integrated, and terrifyingly powerful individual. They have not destroyed the lioness, they have learned to ride her. And a soul who is riding a lion is a soul who is no longer a prey animal in the jungle of this world. They are the apex predator of their own reality. They are not a danger to others. They are a danger to the illusion. They are a danger to the systems of control that are built on the foundation of your fear of your own power. They are a walking, breathing embodiment of the forbidden truth that the only way to the light is through the heart of the darkness. The goal of the system is to keep you as prey. A prey animal is defined by one thing: fear. It is reactive, it is hypervigilant, it is constantly scanning the horizon for threats. Its primary drive is not to live, but to not die. The world you were born into is a perfectly designed predator-prey simulation, and you have been relentlessly conditioned to play the role of the prey. The media is the predator's roar, a constant broadcast of fear and threat that keeps your nervous system in a state of chronic activation. The economic system is the predator's chase, a relentless demand for productivity that keeps you running, breathless and exhausted. The social system is the predator's camouflage, a jungle of competing egos and shifting alliances where you are never quite sure who to trust. And you have been taught that the only way to survive is to be small, to be quiet, to be invisible, to never challenge the predators that rule this jungle. To integrate your inner Sekhmet is to flip the script. It is a conscious, alchemical, and biological act of changing your position in the food chain. When you make peace with your own inner predator, you cease to be prey. You become a sovereign predator. This is not about becoming a bully, a tyrant, or an abuser. That is the pathetic and cowardly behavior of a prey animal that has been given a moment of power. That is the wounded ego lashing out. A true sovereign predator is the opposite. They are calm, they are centered, they are so utterly confident in their own power that they have no need to ever prove it. They do not hunt for sport, they hunt for sustenance. They do not kill for pleasure, they kill for balance. They are a force of nature, and their very presence brings order to the jungle. A person who has integrated their shadow, who has made an ally of their own inner lioness, moves through the world with a different kind of energy. They are no longer broadcasting the frequency of fear. They are broadcasting the frequency of power. And the world responds accordingly. The petty predators of the human world, the manipulators, the narcissists, the energy vampires, instinctively sense this. They can smell the difference between a sheep and a wolf, and they will give you a very wide berth. Your integrated shadow becomes your ultimate psychic shield. It is a silent, powerful broadcast that says, "Do not even think about it. This is not food. This is not an aggressive act. It is a state of being. Your boundaries are no longer a wall that you have to defend. They are the natural perimeter of your own powerful, energetic field." This is the true meaning of the uraeus, the cobra at the brow of the pharaoh. It is not just a symbol of an awakened third eye. It is a symbol of a mastered predatory instinct. The cobra does not attack without reason. It is calm, it is observant, it is a master of its own energy. But when its boundary is crossed, when a real threat is present, it strikes with absolute lethal precision. It does not hesitate, it does not doubt. It does not feel guilt. It is a perfect and clean expression of the sacred law of self-preservation. To have an awakened Uraeus is to have achieved this state of being. It is to be a being of profound peace and terrifying potential, all held in a state of perfect, conscious balance. This is the being that the system of control cannot tolerate. It is a being who cannot be herded, who cannot be frightened, and who cannot be fed upon. To become a sovereign predator is to reclaim your life force. You stop leaking your energy into fear, into worry, into the meaningless dramas of the Matrix. You become an efficient and powerful creator. The raw, primal energy of your integrated shadow, the fire of Sekhmet, becomes the fuel for your life's purpose. It is the passion that drives your work, the creativity that fuels your art, the unwavering courage that allows you to speak your truth in a world of lies. You stop being a consumer of reality. You become a generator of it. You are no longer prey. You are no longer just a survivor. You are a king, a queen, a god in your own jungle. You are the one who walks through the valley of the shadow of death and fears no evil, because you have finally realized that the shadow, the valley, and the evil were all just misunderstood parts of your own magnificent, terrifying, and divine self. The predator was you all along, and the only thing you were ever hunting was your own freedom. If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it."